Where is it? Where's the rest? The rolls, SDF. Where's the rest? SDF. Where are the rolls? I removed it from the game. What? You did what? Guys, I had to. For us, for the game. I swear. Guys, you removed random rolls from the game? Guys, please, please, just hear me out. Please. Today is a sad day, boys. SDF has let the dad kissers win. Now he's reverting some of the changes he made for the semi-wipe. For those who haven't been playing the whole semi-wipe, solo dual Q was removed. Base health across the classes was reduced via the vigor scaling. Shot location modifiers were increased, so more headshot damage, more limb damage, more chest damage. Random modifiers were removed, which kind of made gem socketing useless because you can't socket anything if there's no rolls. And they added an in-game party up system, which was cool because you could pick up randoms and make them join your party. People have collectively lost their minds about the changes, and it's quite funny that just a few weeks ago, everyone was crying that Iron Mason never listens to players, but SDF doesn't even have the balls to commit to the patch that he wants for the game because of listening to player backlash and suggestions. Yesterday, SDF has now started adding more stuff to his private SDF Kitchen Discord channel, and I'm going to read some of them to you because some of them are super concerning if you read between the lines. He basically goes on to say that balancing skill versus gear is incredibly difficult, which is fair. That's a valid complaint. Then he goes on to say that sometimes he would use the term time to kill to describe how fast combat plays out, but over time realized that time to kill can be a bit vague and doesn't fully fit the way our game works, which is partially true. Instead, he wants to shift to a hits to kills description so that he can better describe hits to kill rather than time to kill. This is because he wants it to make the game a very headshot-oriented game where if you get hit in the head, you take infinitely more damage than if you get hit in the body. The problem with hits to kill as a describer rather than time to kill is twofold. One, when you describe hits to kill, classes that have access to daggers generally gain an advantage if you're basing things off hits to kill because daggers attack faster and hitting people multiple times really quickly is extremely easy when you're hitting them in the head. So generally speaking, anytime the headshot damage goes through the roof, while increasing the base HP of people, two things usually happen. One, bows become really disgusting, and daggers become really disgusting. If the HP is low, but the headshot damage is high, two-handers become disgusting because you only need to hit someone twice in the head, or once in the head, once in the body, and bows become disgusting. That's why we're in a two-hander bow meta right now, which is why halberd is viable. But if we increase the HP by adding random rolls back on and potentially adding gear back, or increasing changing the vigor stat now back to previous levels, we're going to be seeing the same fucking meta again, where it's just ranged cringe and people with daggers like Rogue who have way too much HP, way too much PDR, way too much freedom of movement. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's what it reads. Also, if SDF uses hits to kill as his threshold for measuring stuff, this is also probably a direct nerf to any weapon that hits horizontally, because typically weapons that hit horizontally have a harder time, especially against shielded targets or targets with daggers in their hand, hitting people in the head because generally speaking, everyone's hands are in front of their face when they have a dagger or casting spells or have a shield. But generally, it's more noticeable on shields and daggers. You can't always get headshots, so like it just specifically nerfs side swinging weapons. So again, like we're just promoting more Bardiche and Halberd gameplay, which I like the Bardiche, don't get me wrong. Um, but it just like buffs all these like overhead swinging weapons, and one-hander weapons are primarily overhead swinging weapons. So just be aware of that. Then they go on to say that he really wants 1v3 to happen. And personally, like I don't think 1v3 happening from full life is ever a thing you should shoot for, probably speaking. Like it sounds cool in theory, but in practice it just never works. Um, unless people are significantly under geared to you, and then you're just gear gapping them, so it doesn't really matter that it was 1v3. But that's what he's aiming for, kind of a little bit. But I think he's pushing back off of that now. I don't think he wants that as much, but it just seems like a little bit crazy. Um, but yeah, basically, he's just trying to normalize the gear checking versus the skill checking. Like he wants it to be like as balanced as it could possibly be, which I don't think you can ever get. They're adding random rolls back. It just seems really bad, the way they're doing it, because I feel like what's gonna happen is we're just gonna go back to like everyone's just gonna run fucking dagger. Like if you have access to a dagger, you just run dagger. If you have access to a bow, you don't engage with the game and you just shoot a bow. So just be aware that like that kind of those kind of metas always tend to suck, and it's gonna be really bad. Hopefully they don't add random rolls back that include move speed. Hopefully they don't add random rolls back that include true damage. Hopefully they don't add random rolls back that include HP in any sort of form. I don't think you should ever get HP from flat rolls, but I am in favor of them adding more gear that has HP as the base roll, and I'm also in favor of them changing the Vig scaling back to the previous roll so that if you get Vigor, it actually gives you HP up to a certain point. But I don't think flat HP is good for the game, and I think it always ends up ruining the game. So, anyway, I was a fan of the last patch. I actually thought it was quite good, even though there was no random modifiers. I think they needed to add other things to the game that made the loop or looting experience different. So that means either more gear pieces like that are just on the ground that have different roles from the ones we currently have, or random stuff that like you find that can craft you specific things that you could add to your gear. I still think the best extraction game that's ever come out was the cycle, and I think if we're going to add random rolls back long term, I think it should be something that you should have to put on your base piece of gear that you find, and you should have to do it in the dungeon by crafting materials. I played the Midnight Walkers. I personally don't like it. I played it over the weekend. I personally don't like it because it's very clunky. They have a couple useful things that Dark and Darker should be taking away from the game, which is key rooms are valuable and they actually get used. The gear in them is worth using. It's really important that we do that with the keys in Dark and Darker. This clamps down on RMT and stuff like that, but also just makes the game feel like there's more stuff to do, even though that stuff is available for you to do right now. It's just not worth it. And I also think that they should change the horde pulling aspect of this game. I think the horde is the most boring thing in the game. I think they should get rid of the horde. There should be 3 marvelous chests in each location that the horde exists currently on the map. Doesn't matter what map it's on. Doesn't matter if it's a boss or a non-boss. And then for boss hordes, there should be basically 1 mega chest that's better than marvelous, that has a chance to drop chest, bags, and all that stuff. I think marvelous chest should also have a chance to drop bags in it, not chests. And then the mega chest that's in the boss room should also have a chance to drop a named item, and it also should have a chance to drop something else that should be added into the game, in my opinion, which is like some sort of named item crafting material. And then after X number of boss kills, you should have 10 or so of these crafting materials, and you should be able to craft something that allows you to apply this thing to the boss in game. Whether or not the boss gets harder at a later date is up for whatever. You can do that, or I don't fucking care. But you should be able to bring it in. You use this thing in the boss room, and then it guarantees that the boss is going to drop a random artifact. So that in every 10 games, provided you kill the boss on the 11th game, you're guaranteed an artifact. People that I've seen talk about Midnight Walkers and all that say that the thing that they like about it is that you're always able to craft a weapon. I'm also in favor of that too. That system was okay. I don't like the way they went about it, but I'm also in favor of that too, where the ability for you to craft a weapon, any weapon you want by gathering materials is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna go cut to some live stream portion of me talking about the Midnight Walkers and Darker and how they differ. Um, yeah. Walkers did. There's like a couple things that Midnight Walkers did, but like, so these are the floors, right? The gameplay loop of Midnight Walkers is I want to make a legendary Warhammer War Mall, okay? In order to make a legendary War Mall, I have to go to this floor, this floor, this floor, this floor, and this floor to get all the materials. The gameplay loop of what you're doing in Midnight Walkers is I'm going to specific floors to achieve specific loot to make my desired outcome. But on Darker, it's like, here's this big map on Darker with all these fucking rooms or whatever. And like any one of the, like, here's me on Darker, and I want a legendary War Mall. In order for me to get a legendary War Mall, I can do literally anything on here. Like, there's literally infinite ways to get a legendary War Mall in this game. Like, it could be on a box in the corner. It could be on some mob over here. It could be on the boss over here. It could be like in a fucking big chest over here. It could be on the floor over here. Like, there's no kind of direction to getting loot. It's just all random. And I think actually that's part of the reason why the game sucks. Because, like, I'm listening to people explain what they were doing on Midnight Walkers, and they're like, well, the gameplay loop is I go to the specific floors to get my War Mall. So it feels like I'm doing something. Whereas, like, in Darker, like, you just do whatever, and you have a chance to get whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like that's actually a weird structure problem with the game. Yeah, but that's Skipper. I think that's gonna be. I mean, every extraction game is that, right? Like every single extraction game is the same. Whatever has range is what wins, because it's a gear. Because all extraction games are inherently gear check type games. So unless every class has range, then the range classes just automatically dominate the game. But like, look at the difference though. Like, this game has structure. You want the legendary War Mall, you go to these random spots. You can always get a chance to find it anywhere. But if you want to make one, you go to these random spots and then you make the weapon. Whereas Darker, it's like you're just killing random mobs. And they have a little bit of like a little bit of direction in terms of like you want like a legendary like Bardiche or whatever, right? Like you go kill the nightmare like gargoyle, right? Like this is what you do. You want the legendary thing, you kill the gargoyle. But like that's the only form of like finding specific weapon that you have. Or you kill other players. You can always kill other players. That's always like the other thing, right? Is to kill some other dude that just has the fucking legendary Bardiche on him, right? Like that's obviously like the most preferred way to play is just like find the guy that's got the legendary Bardiche on him or whatever. But like if you're a person that doesn't want to PvP or thinks that they can't outplay someone that's got better gear than you, then you have to do this to do this or do this. Whereas at least on this game, like you can get it by doing stuff. And like the other thing about this game, I will say, is it's way more gear checking and way shittier. But like if you know you're gonna get gear checked, you can just run in naked and just try to make it out with like the pieces on the floor, right? You can just make it out 4 or 5 times to craft this. Whereas like in Darker and Darker, it doesn't really exist. The only way that you can do that is like with the shitty like purple and epic weapons. Like, do you think like if I launch this real quick, do you think Darker and Darker becomes busted if all the craftable weapons can be crafted at any rarity? Like, does the game become broken if that happens? Like, if you can craft a legendary, um, yeah, but you could get almost full legendary gear on that game too if you knew what you're doing in an hour. That's because we know what we're doing. I think if you knew what you're doing, you can get almost a full legendary gear on Midnight Walkers within an hour. Like in 2 games, I was full blue kit, and I imagine if I knew what I was doing, I'd be full purple kit. And I feel like that becomes even more so because everything is like pinpointed on Midnight Walkers. But like imagine this, like would this be busted? I'm just trying to think like let's say we go back one patch and we have all the random modifiers. Okay. If this becomes a legendary Grimslayer, does this become overpowered? Like if you get the Sovereign's Ghostblade and it's legendary, does it become overpowered? Well, it's a barb weapon. Aside from it being a barb weapon, you know what I'm saying though, right? Like if you can get this thing and it's legendary, so you get the extra roll and it does more damage at its base, is it overpowered? Like, is this staff overpowered if you can craft it at legendary rarity, and it gets the extra roll, and then it bumps up the stuff like the flat roll, the magic healing up by 1? Is it overpowered? Maybe. Like maybe. Oh, what this thing? Training system. Well, because they had it for multi-classing and now they're trying to do something else, right? And something else I was thinking about is like, what if you had like what if you had like even if they don't want to do like a skill tree, what if you just had like skill points, right? Skill tree is promising that. Like, what if you had like this? Like, imagine this, okay? Does this make sense too? You have your 4 perks, right? This is hold on, let's do this is robust. This is like what does Iron Will even look like? I don't even know. Like, let's say that's robust. Like, this is moral boost. Whatever the fuck Iron Will is supposed to be, that's Iron Will. And like, this is Berserk, okay? What if we cut all this in half? So robust is only like 5%. Iron Will is like 50 MR. Moral boost is like 10% heal. And Berserk is like 10% damage or something like that, right? But then you play the game, you get to level 20, and you're awarded 5 skill points. And then you can just like go, okay, well, I like HP, so I'm putting a skill point into, or 2 skill points into robust, and now my robust is 20%. Does that make the game cringe? Instead of adding random rolls, you just do this. I like robust and I like moral boost. So I put my skill points into here, and instead of a 30, I get a 50% heal. Does that make the game cringe? Probably. Especially when you're dealing with percents. Probably. But it could be like they add flat stuff. Like, what if they added flat stuff? Like, instead of 20%, you just get like 20 HP flat for putting 2 skill points in. Like, every skill point is like 10 health or something. Does that make the game cringe? HLL? I don't know what HLL is. Who invited me? Is it Travis? Warlord Enjoyer? 1, 2, 3? Is that
Hey man, you wanna play the game, man?